What's your safety fire tip
Well,
for today?
I'd like to talk a little bit about Christmas fires and or how to avoid them around Christmas.
And it is that season.
Sure is, and of course nothing's more tragic than a Christmas time fire.
Exactly. Is there more of a danger with a real tree than an artificial?
Definitely. Although real trees are real nice to have, artificial trees are a lot more fire safe. They're a lot less likely to catch fire, of course, because real trees tend to dry out.
What's the greatest cause of fires at Christmas time?
Probably gets back to the trees and things related to decorations, the paper, that kind of thing. Letting the tree dry out if you have a real tree, not giving it enough water and that sort of thing, makes it very, very unsafe. And of course, that coupled with old Christmas decorations, if the wiring's not so good anymore, that and a dry tree are just a recipe for disaster.
So, although we'd love to have those real Christmas trees, you're probably safer with the artificial.
Probably safer with the artificial, and you'd probably want to stay away from combining, if you get an artificial tree, if it's a metal tree, you don't want to combine that with an electrical set of cords, because although they look nice together,
yes.
Electric lights on a metal tree, again, if there's bad wiring, you may wind up with a big electric shock out of it.
Oh, I never even thought of that,
Yeah.
Blair.
So if you've got a metal tree, you want to light it indirectly with some pot lights or something like that.
And of course, Christmas morning, everyone likes to put the fire in the fireplace and everyone opens their presents, but I'm sure there's also a danger with all that paper that's being flung at random.
You bet. Like any other time, you want to be very careful of your fireplace and keeping an eye on it, keeping the damper closed and all that sort of thing, so that no sparks get out. The other thing is, you shouldn't, after Christmas, you shouldn't burn your tree in the fireplace. It's best just to dispose of it outside and get it outside right after Christmas.
Okay.
Because they once they dry out, they go up like you wouldn't believe. Like a
Now, how do you check your wiring on your lights? Everyone likes to have these wonderful lights on their trees. How do you know if you have a flawed set?
Well, basically, if you examine the wiring visually, if there's any damage at all on it, Christmas lights are cheap enough that it's better to spend the money and get a fresh set if you're in doubt at all. If one light isn't working and you replace it and you still can't get the set to work or working intermittently, again, it's probably best to junk it, get a new set, and save yourself the worry.
The worry and concern.
The other
Yes.
thing you don't want to do or you do want to do is keep an eye on your cat. If you have a pet, they love to climb Christmas trees. They'll knock them over and the lights can, so another thing to think about.
So keep Kitty away from the tree.
Definitely.
Blair, thank you very much, and season's greetings.
Thank you, Cheryl.
And that's our safety tip for today. Our fire safety tip today is aimed at you, the Sesame Street crowd, the under 5 crowd, I guess. Blair, thank you for joining me. One of the main concerns you firemen have is that very young children are terrified of your uniforms when you come in to save them.
That's right, especially in a house where a fire is occurring. There can be a lot of smoke, noise from smoke detectors or other things. We come up with our sirens, and then we come in and we're all dressed up, like one of my buddies is here.
And he's going to join us. Now, you don't look too threatening because we can still see your face.
That's right.
But you look definitely intimidating.
Yeah, Ray is dressed up as a fireman typically would be to go into a house. And it can look a little scary, but it's important that the kids know that behind the mask, is just a person like me. Now Ray's going to hook up his hose here so you can hear what the sound he be making is like.
So our young friends will recognize it if they're in a situation.
That's right. Now if you see somebody like this coming into your house, and you should know that not to run away from them. It's very important you go to this person and let them know you're there, and they'll take care of you. They'll take you back to your mom and dad.
The sound is quite intimidating.
It is.
Yes.
But if you think about it, and if you watch Sesame Street, actually he kind of looks a little bit like a guy in Sesame Street named Snuffleupagus.
That's true,
So
he does.
just think of it as being Snuffy coming to save you in the middle of a fire.
And maybe we can point out to our young friends exactly what all this is about, so they understand why he's wearing the equipment.
Very good point. He's wearing the helmet in case anything that in the house that's on fire happens to hit him in the head. He's got this visor on to protect his eyes. The mask is assuring that he gets nice clean air from the tank on his back here. He's also got some very, very thick clothing on to protect him from the fire, and some nice strong boots in case he steps on anything that might be broken.
Now maybe if he unhooks his oxygen tank, we can get him to take off the helmet, because I think he has some other protective gear underneath.
You bet. When we get dressed up to go into a fire, we do it from head to toe. You can see he's got some protective gloves on.
Yes.
The helmet, as we mentioned before, is especially made so it will resist any kind of impact. The clothing itself is made of a fire-resistant material.
Is it different from your jacket, Blair?
No, they're all made to a certain standard. They're all made exactly the same. And actually, when we have kids come to the fire hall to visit us, we very often get them to wear it. This is another fireproof protection that race car drivers actually use too. And here he is with just the mask on, and now he's going to be taking that off in a second. And you'll see he's a pretty typical looking fireman.
Looks like a pretty nice guy underneath all that equipment. Thank you so much. For you children out there, remember, don't be afraid of the fireman that comes in to save you. His equipment may look intimidating, but he's not. He's there to protect you. And that's our fire tip for today. Fire tip today, Blair, is concerning modern fires. How have things changed as far as household fires 100 years ago from today?
Well, surprisingly enough, Cheryl, they've changed a lot. Although we have a lot better technology to fight the fires with, fires today in the home are a lot more dangerous than they were even 50 years ago, simply because so much of the furniture and other odds and ends in everybody's typical house is made up of plastic and foam rubber and things which, if they burn, give off toxic gases that can literally, if there's enough of them, kill you in seconds.
My goodness.
So it's just something that's important to be aware of. It's another good reason to have a working smoke detector in your house. Your sofa will give off polyvinyl chloride gas, which if you inhale it will turn to an acid into your lungs. If a fire gets hot enough, and especially in mobile homes these days, because they're just like one big metal-coated oven, they get very hot. Taking a breath of that superheated air can knock you down very quickly. So just another good reason to have a working smoke detector in your house.
Now, if your fire has already started, how do you prevent inhaling these toxic fumes, Blair?
Well, the best thing to do if the fire's already going in your house and there's a fair bit of smoke, get down low to the floor. Most of the smoke, of course, because it's so hot, will rise. So get down low to the floor and get out of the house as soon as you can. Everybody should have at least 2 ways out of every room in their house, especially the bedroom, because that's where fire catches most people unawares.
Does it make a difference, Blair, if you cover your face with a scarf or a dampened towel? Does that help keep out the smoke?
It's not a bad idea, but you should never hesitate to take the time to find something like that rather than choosing to get out quickly. If it takes you even a minute to get that over your face, it may be time you could have better used getting you and your family out of the burning house.
How much time does a family on average have to get out of their house before those toxic fumes are going to do permanent damage?
Well, once a fire is really going well and there's a lot of smoke and a lot of heat in the air, then standing upright in a room that's full of that kind of hot smoke, you could literally fall down after 2 or 3 breaths.
Oh my goodness.
So again, have a working smoke detector, get down low, and stay safe.
Blair, thank you very much. And that's our fire safety tip for today. Hard day at the office, Blair?
Well, unfortunately, I just came home from another dryer fire. We've had a couple of them lately.
Well, who would have thought that dryers could be a major cause of fires?
Well, you wouldn't think so, would you, Cheryl?
No, you
but
wouldn't.
Unfortunately, they're actually sort of a heating appliance in your house. They do heat up the wet clothes, and they
Right.
do tend to get a lot dirtier than most heating appliances because of all the lint coming off the clothes. So unfortunately, that combination of the heat and dust and dirt does cause a lot of fires.
So how do we prevent a dryer fire?
One of the easiest fires to prevent probably is the dryer fire, just by continually cleaning out the lint area off
Yes.
the dryer. And the lint actually gets everywhere. And what we find a lot of times is it gets down in behind the dryer, gets in combination with the electrical plug and starts something there. So make sure you vacuum out behind there frequently. Wipe off the top of your dryer. And it's not even a bad idea every so often to unplug it from the wall completely. And most of them have screw backs on them. Take off the back and vacuum out inside them. There's an amazing amount of lint that gets inside the dryer.
Now, what about the vents that normally take the hot air out? If you don't have a vent, is that a danger?
Well, in theory, it's only taking out the warm air, but still it should be connected to the outside just so you don't wind up with a humidity problem in your house. Should be connected up outside.
So the main danger is a buildup of lint and not cleaning in behind it properly.
You bet. And of course, one other thing you should never put in a dryer is if you washing clothes that have been soaked in gasoline or anything, all the gas doesn't usually get out. You throw them in the dryer, it heats up, and there's a lot of gasoline vapors in the dryer all of a sudden. Another big recipe for a problem.
Any other tips?
Just basically keep it clean, clean the lint trap every time you use it. You should be safe.
Blair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
And that's our safety tip for today.
You know, Cheryl, I was just thinking that we should talk a little bit about smoking in fires, because you know, Cheryl, I was just thinking that we should talk a little bit about smoking in fires, because in 1990, most of the fire deaths occurred in fires that had smoking involved in them.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
And most of them because someone left a lit cigarette burning in an ashtray unattended?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people tend to leave something lit and walk away, or even more so, what more often happens is they'll be smoking late at night after they've maybe had a drink and they're very relaxed and they start to fall asleep. Next thing you know, the couch catches on fire, the bed catches on fire.
Oh,
and that's why there's a lot of deaths involved with that sort of thing.
Now, the obvious answer is not to smoke, but if you must smoke, what are some of the things that you can do to prevent a fire?
Good point. If you do smoke, try not to smoke late at night, especially if you're alone and you're in a relaxed position, you're likely to fall asleep. When you're disposing of cigarettes and that kind of material, dispose of it in a metal can. When you're done smoking at the end of the night, don't just dump your ashtray into your plastic garbage can, because 2 hours later it could catch fire. They smolder in there. So into a metal can or flush down the toilet, one or the other.
Any other tips for smokers, Blair?
Well, basically, again, just be aware when you're smoking late at night. That's when most of these fire deaths happen. Don't smoke in bed, and dispose of your smokes properly.
Blair, thank you very much. And that's our tip for today. Children, if you hear that sound, run to your parents or run to the front door, but get out of the house. It means there's a fire. And that's our fire tip for today, isn't it, Blair? What do you do to maintain?
The smoke detectors are very, very easy to maintain. We like to say that they're a sound you can live with. Once a month, what we'd like you to do with your smoke detector is test it with live fire. And that means just lighting a candle, snuffing it out, holding it under there, and making sure the smoke detector works. You should also vacuum it out. Once a month is a great way to vacuum it out once a month. It stays nice and clean, and then you won't get those sort of alarms going on, those false alarms going off.
Now, where should they be placed, Blair?
Okay, what we'd like you to do is, if you're getting a smoke detector, is place one on every level of the house, near bedrooms, near the kitchen, preferably on the ceiling, and not too close to the wall. Each smoke detector actually comes with a pamphlet detailing how to place it. If you're placing it on the wall, it shouldn't be too close, within 12 inches of the ceiling. If it's on the ceiling, it shouldn't be within 12 inches of a wall. We also like to recommend they come in battery operated and electrically connected to your house voltage
Which is
detectors.
better?
Both are very, very good. but in different ways. If you have both, then if your power goes out, you're still safe from a fire. And if the battery runs out and you miss it somehow, although you shouldn't, then this one is your backup. So one of each is best.
Now, Blair, I've been in homes where decorators have actually painted these the color of the walls. Does that affect their efficiency?
It's probably not a good idea. They come in fairly aesthetically pleasing colors. It's probably not a good idea to interfere with them. A lot of people paint them, or you know, if they're having false alarms, rather than fix the problem, they shut them off at the breaker or take the battery out. Not a good idea. Fix the problem, remove the smoke detector a little bit, but that's a sound you can live with.
It is indeed. Thank you very much, Blair. And that's our tip for today. Blair.
Hi Cheryl, how are you?
Good, thank you. What's your safety tip for today?
Well, today I'd like to talk a little bit about water sprinklers for residential homes.
That's a fairly new thing, is it not?
It certainly is. Not many people know about it, but in fact, in Vancouver, they just amended one of their building codes so that everyone who builds a new house there has to put in a residential sprinkler system. What they are is everybody's seen a sprinkler system in an industrial building. It's the same thing in your home, only the sprinkler heads look a little better. They're designed so that they fit in with your wall colors and add to your decor.
Now, I would think one of the major concerns with a home sprinkler system is that if you have a false alarm, what about all that water damage?
A lot of people are concerned about that. I think the statistics say it's 1 in 6 million false alarms. So you're probably more likely to win the lottery, wouldn't it be nice,
yes,
than have your home sprinkler system go off when there's no fire. Even if there is a fire, people are concerned, I've got sprinklers in my house and water damage. But in fact, the damage done by a water sprinkler system is less than is done 10 minutes later by the fire department when the fire is so much more advanced.
Yes. What is the cost of a sprinkler system?
It can vary, and obviously it's cheaper to put a sprinkler system in a house that's being built. The cost can vary from about $1 to $1.50 per square foot. So that's a good rule of thumb to follow. But fairly cheap if you want to keep your $100,000 house alive.
Now, in the living room, for example, an average-sized living room, how many sprinkler outlets would you need?
Probably a couple, and again, they usually cover about 10 feet in area adequately. And again, they're designed so that they blend right in with your decor, and they're not aesthetically displeasing.
Now, is it difficult to install one in an existing residence?
It's a little bit tougher in an existing residence and probably a little bit more expensive. But especially for people who are looking at purchasing a new home or getting it built, definitely something to think about.
Excellent tip. Thank you, Blair. And that's our safety tip for today.
Hi, Cheryl.
Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you again.
What's your safety tip for today?
I'm going to talk a little bit about what the public can do for burn injuries.
Always a serious topic.
Yeah, just a few little tips that we can provide them with that they might help somebody who's been injured. Is something as simple as a sunburn to a more severe burn.
Now, maybe you can grade the severity of burns for us, for those of us that are not aware.
At one time, they used to talk about classes of burns, class or first, second, and third degree burns, and now they've changed that. It's a little easier to understand, which they call superficial burns, which involve only the top layer of skin.
Such as a sunburn,
yes,
a light sunburn.
To a partial thickness burn, which involves a little bit deeper burn through a couple of layers of tissue, to what they call a full thickness burn, which involves the entire skin. It burns right through all layers of the skin.
All right. Now, how would you treat a surface burn?
Surface burns, the easiest thing to do, first off, is cool the burn. In doing that, you don't want to put yourself in danger yourself. So you'd get the person out of the area. If say that it was a thermal burn from a fire, you'd get them away from that. Then you would cool a burn using water or a clean, what we use is a saline solution, and it's very clean. The public doesn't have that, so just good clean water is the best thing.
At room temperature, cold water, ice?
Cool. You don't want to use ice cold water because it will cool the body down, but just cool or room temperature water is fine.
Now, for a more serious burn?
Same thing. The thing that you need to do initially is stop the burning process to limit tissue damage. Cool or colder water, just pour it over the burn and extinguish if it's still burning clothing.
Yes.
You want to put that out and treat the burn.
Now, you have a whole box of goodies here. Perhaps you can point out some of the things that one should have
Sure.
in the home.
We carry a commercially available burn towels and burn blankets. They're sterile when we open them. They've been sterilized from germs and that type of thing. We also use a commercially available product called saline, and it's also sterile. And what we would do is we would cool the burning process by opening this bag and just pouring it over the burned area. After that, we would dress it with a burned towel.
All right.
For the public, good clean water is the best thing that they can use. And then you could go to something as simple as a clean towel to cover the burned area to prevent anything from getting into the burn, like dirt.
Yes. Right.
The important thing to remember is never put anything on a burn other than water. Salves, ointments, things like this. They may ease the pain, but if the burn has to be treated further in a hospital, they have to scrub it off, and it becomes very, very painful for the patient. And it also, they sometimes even have to peel bits of skin off, and it becomes even more painful because they have to peel off all this stuff that's been put on. Water is the best.
That's an excellent tip, Rob. I think that most of us would automatically try and soothe the patient's pain by putting some type of salve on. And it's good to know that that's something we shouldn't do.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Rob.
You're welcome.
And that is our safety tip for today. many personal injuries, deaths, and property damage occur with fires every year. With us is Ray, who is